Greetings and welcome to our daily walk through the scripture for November the 24th. Your readings today find you in Daniel chapter 1 and chapter 2, verses 1 through 23, 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 22, and 1 Peter 4, verses 1 through 6, Psalm 119, 65 through 80, and Proverbs chapter 28, verse 14. So we're starting the book of Daniel today, and Daniel is really... it's an incredible book, and it is an intense book. And out of this come so many different things. It was, first of all, written by Daniel. Daniel was a prophet who was in exile. If you go back to the history of Israel, after the kingdom split and you've got Israel and Judah going, Israel gets taken away, and for a number of years, there's just the kingdom of Judah. Finally, Judah, aka Jerusalem, gets plundered and taken, and during that time, all of the royal families, it says in scripture, they get taken away to Babylon. Daniel was included in that. Daniel was one of the royal sons, not a son of the king, just part of the royal families, those kind of things. They were just, anyway, he was just a noble. So Daniel gets taken away, but Daniel quickly proves himself to be head and shoulders above pretty much anybody else in the kingdom. Daniel is truly a man of God. He's one of the few people in Scripture in the Old Testament that we don't see any flaws from. We don't see anything in his character that would make us question. And the thing that's pretty amazing about that is that we're talking about really a 70-year span in the book of Daniel. Now, the book of Daniel is kind of divided into two different sections. You have the historical section, which is really kind of the first, 10, 13 chapters. But then you get the vision portion of it, the prophetic portion of it. The historical part is pretty easy to read. It's pretty easy to understand. There's some little weird moments that happen, but they're also explained as it goes on. However, when you get into the latter part of Daniel, it can get really confusing. And so we're going to wrestle through those things. Daniel, though, however, is a wonderful book, really showcasing God's sovereignty. I mean, he is the most high God, is a sovereign over the kingdoms of men, as you're going to read in Daniel chapter 5. It's really an exciting book on that, but it's really all about who is really God. You're going to see instances of Babylonian kings, Assyrian kings, people like Persian kings that are going to be claiming to be God. You're going to see Darius, Cyrus, people like that, Belshazzar. Those guys are all going to be like, I'm the man, and God's going to go, no, you're not. Let me show you who the man really is. And so you're going to see all of those things happen. The book of Daniel ends prior to the people of Israel being restored after the 70 years, and you're going to see this. Now, there's a couple of different interpretations that you can do when it comes to the book of Daniel. You have the amillennial interpretation, and you have the premillennial interpretation. Now, the amillennial interpretation, for example, in chapter 2, when it talks about a stone that strikes a statue, an amillennial would refer to Christ striking the Roman Empire and currently filling the earth through the growth of the church. Okay, a premillennial refers to a stone striking a future millennial kingdom. Okay, and so depending on how you look at it is going to depend on some of the ways of how you read Daniel. Full disclosure, I'm going to read it from a premillennial standpoint. So when I look at some of these things and when I have some of these conversations, that's where it's going to come from. Okay, so just be aware that as I do these things, I am going to come at it from the premillennial perspective, okay? So with that being said, Daniel, again, I said, is a very historical one. You're going to get some incredible characteristics of it. You're going to talk about the downfall of pride. You're going to talk about the protection of the Jews. You're going to see that in not only the story of Daniel in the lion's den, which happens in chapter 6, but also the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in chapter 3. You're going to see Daniel remain true to God regardless of the situation. And Daniel is also an excellent way for us to figure out how to deal with authority figures that we don't agree with. Remember, it's not like Daniel did this stuff because he wanted to, okay? Daniel did these things because he had to. But how he relates to the many kings that he serves is a great testament on how for us to deal with authority figures that we find difficult or we disagree with, how we approach them with humility and with choices that can honor both God and our calling and mandate in Scripture to honor our authorities, as we read in 1 Peter just yesterday. So anyway, that's kind of our introduction to Daniel, and we're going to dive into it over the course of the next couple of weeks. But otherwise, we'll talk more next time.